Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you happen to be watching this. I hope you're having a great day. This presentation is a salute to Leroy Jethro Gibbs. And as you can see by the subtitle, it's a semester writing review. As always, for the YouTube bots, all borrowed images, all quoted text are used for educational purposes. I'm not monetizing any of these videos. My effort here is guided by trying to help students learn how to write a little bit better. For those of you who have lives, which I'm guessing most of you do, you may not be familiar with Leroy Jethro Gibbs. He's a character played by Mark Harmon on the television series NCIS. And throughout the series, he has enunciated a list of rules. Sometimes he apparently has two rule number ones, as you can see by some of the examples here. You can also see that it goes down to at least rule 91. I'm not giving you 91. But some of the rules are specific to his job as an NCIS agent, always wear gloves at a crime scene. Some of them are a little more general. I think the idea of you don't waste good applies to any job. When you need help, ask applies to any job. Sometimes you're wrong applies to all of us. So, my rules for this presentation are going to be specific to a composition class and to writing. And like I said, I promise there's not 91 of them. Rule 1: everything's an argument. Every essay is an argument, even if its only point is, I'm worth reading. Straight up, no matter what you're writing, when you're turning something in, you're turning in an argument saying, I'm worth reading. When you're writing an email to your boss, you're turning into an argument saying, this email is worth reading. When you're trying to write a letter to your grandmother, you're saying this letter is worth reading, probably because you want grandma to give you more than $5 in your next Christmas stocking. Okay? I'm worth reading. And so remember that argument is not just gainsaying what the other person says, it's not pure contradiction. Argument is you have to make a claim, you have to provide data, and you have to explain how the data links to the claim. Those things have to happen all the time. I gave a Smart Brevity presentation a while back, and in Smart Brevity, they talk about the idea of, allowing people to want to go deeper. I think all of that going deeper happens after you've got the basic claim, after you've got the data, after you've got the warrant. You want to make a claim that gets the attention, you want to support that attention getter with some data, and you have to explain it. Rule number 2: stick to the thesis. I've said several times that writing should be a lot like speaking. I quoted Christopher Hitchens at the start of the semester that a person who can write, or excuse me, a person who can write, let me back up, a person who can speak can also write. But Hitchens would say you have to learn how to speak well. For the most part, when we speak, I think we get to the point, and then the conversations go down a rabbit hole sometimes, but they start with having a point. If the point is we saw an eagle, then focus on the eagle. Don't focus on, the two boys. Don't focus on the little terrier. Don't focus on anything else. Focus on the eagle. Stick to the point. What's your point? Stick to it. Number 3, focus on the subject, not on the writer. This might be a picky little thing, but I believe it would be far better if you could eliminate the words, in this paper I will discuss, I think, I believe, in my opinion. As the Meme says this isn't about you. And since I've got the word you on there, as much as possible, work to avoid using the word you as well. Try to keep the focus away from the audience. The focus is on the subject of the paper, and very rarely is the audience the subject of the paper. Omit needless words. After listening to my rambling on slides 1, 2, and 3, a lot of you might hope that I would practice what I preach. The goal is short, not shallow. So look at whether the word is actually needed, but certainly in situations like the one on the here, omit needless words does the same thing as omit any needless words. Get rid of the words you don't need. Make sure you're giving all the detail that is needed. Make sure you're providing the warrants to support your thesis. But if it's not needed, get rid of it. Cull prepositions. As much as you possibly can, get rid of them. Prepositional phrases are 2, 3, 4, 5 words, and most times you can eliminate or you can limit those 2, 3, 4, 5 words to 1, 2 words. Cull the prepositions. Spend a lot of time looking for the prepositions in your writing and working to eliminate them. Sometimes they're necessary, but work to cull the prepositions. Prefer nouns and verbs to adjectives and adverbs. Way back in the day, Saturday morning was punctuated by an educational public service announcement that took 2 or 3 minutes, and it was called Schoolhouse Rock. Schoolhouse Rock is famous for I'm just a bill, and it's famous for lolly, 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 get your adverbs here. And I think if anybody wants to, you should be able to find them on YouTube. But with all due apologies to Schoolhouse Rock, which was classic educational television at its finest, don't get your adverbs. Write with specific verbs, write with action verbs. And don't unpack your adjectives, write with the nouns. Prefer the nouns and the verbs to adjectives and adverbs. It's a way of being concise. It's a way of getting your point across more specifically. Prefer the nouns and verbs to adjectives and adverbs. Rule 7. Revise first, edit second. I'm fairly certain that I went through radar versus cups early in the semester. But again, replace words that are not specific, words that are overused, sentences that are unclear. Sometimes you have to add new information. I disagree strongly with descriptive adjectives and adverbs. Ever so often, you need transitional phrases and other rhetorical advice. Delete, I think, is the key on radar. Any repeated ideas, any unnecessary details, any sentences that sound good but don't fit, and put it in a logical order so that it flows. Look for the capitalization errors, look for the usage errors, punctuation errors, spelling errors, and allow me to throw in here, don't let spell check become your enemy. Make sure you proofread, make sure you catch the errors that autocorrect is going to make for you. Rule 7A, I guess. I'll have to go back and change this. Avoid the foggy words. Could, may, and might, get rid of them. I stole this from Smart Brevity, and I believe that the foggy words add to adding unnecessary words. They don't tell you anything that's informative, persuasive, convincing, or delightful. Get rid of them. Prefer the short words? As a rule of thumb, a one-syllable word is more powerful than a two-syllable word. Prefer the short words. And again, in Smart Brevity, they give a whole list, a challenge There's nothing words with saying a problem. Posit something. Assume. It's a simpler word. Something is not ubiquitous. It's everywhere. People aren't obfuscating the truth. They're hiding the truth. You had a fight. You're not disseminating things. You're spreading things. The only time you should hear the word disseminate is when it's on the disclaimer for Major League Baseball or the NFL, where the use in the images cannot be disseminated without the express written consent of Major League Baseball or whatever team you're talking about. Prefer the simple words. Prefer the short words. Write for your audience. If the professor wants long, boring sentences, write in long, boring sentences. However, I think the vast majority of people have trained themselves to read on the screen, so write for the screen. Paragraphs should fit on a phone screen, or paragraphs should fit on a computer screen. Write for the screen because that's what your audience has trained themselves to read. That's how they expect things to happen. Write for your audience. Rule 10, write like a human. Avoid the jargon, avoid the buzzwords. I believe I've shown this before, but you can take a word from column 1, column 2, and column 3. So you can have a functional transitional time phase, you can have a synchronized organizational flexibility, you can have balanced third generation options, you can have total incremental contingencies. I don't know what any of those phrases mean. Write like a human. Avoid the jargon, avoid the buzzwords. And this is probably Rule 10A, and it might be Rule 11A by the time I get done. Use the paramedic method. Circle the prepositions, circle the linking verbs. Work to eliminate them. Find the action of the sentence, put the action in a simple verb, and start the sentences fast. Number 7, I think, is important. Read the passage aloud. Can you find emphasis and feeling? And look at the sentence lengths. Make sure that your shortest sentences have your most important parts, most important points, because they are the most memorable. I hope this has been helpful. I apologize for not knowing how to do numbers correctly, but trust me, the words here and how to get the words on the page in the best way, I believe these rules will be helpful. Have a good one. Hope to see you in class next class period.